So Frogg Moody, okay, you have written quite a few books already, and now you have a new one, Bygone Salisbury. I can see that you're holding there. When was this published?
Well, it's hot off the press. I only picked it up yesterday from the printers. I had a quick flip through. Delighted with the results. Looks really professional and really good. So probably the easiest book that I've ever written in my whole life, because all the articles in here have been written for the Salisbury Journal, for my weekly column, Bygone Salisbury. So
And so you have, I mean, you have been writing for the Salisbury Journal for quite a long time. Now, you produce an article a week. How difficult is that to come up with these articles?
it's very difficult, really. Although I do get help, like the one that appeared in today's journal was actually written by someone else about their family. So when that happens, with a photograph, it takes the weight off me. So yeah, that doesn't really happen enough. I do like researching for new articles, but weekly is quite difficult.
Now, tell me some of the stories that's in this book. So if you have people looking to buy it, what might they find?
Well, it's quite difficult, really, because when I was talking about this idea with my wife Ruby, and I could have actually selected a greatest hits, but we thought the best way to do it would be to actually go right back to 2016. That was the year I actually first started writing these articles for the Salisbury Journal, and maybe do a selection from 2016 and 2017, because if it's successful, then next year we can continue with the year after that. So we can do 2018 and 19, then the following year, if I'm still alive, of course, if we're all still here, then it will follow on. And actually, it's worked out really well, because there's a really good selection of articles in here, going from dear Norman Parker with the Secret Spitfires to Anna Valley Motors, Charlie Plum, Imber, photographers, bakers. There's all sorts of really nice. So you have the Busted In, loads and loads of diversity. Basically, it amounts to 60 articles, A4 format, but all with a photograph. So I mean, this sort of book's really good, because it's only 300 words with a nice size photograph, and it's a sort of book ideal for Christmas. Got a tree behind me, so it is Christmas, but it's a sort of book that people can give to their loved ones for stocking fillers, and it's what I call coffee book, because you can put it on the table, pick it up, go to any page in this book, and each page is an article from the journal. So it works really well, keeps the interest there. And I think that if I'd bought this book, I'd actually love it, because it's, I love Salisbury anyway, but this is, as well as being historical Salisbury, it's also really good social history as well. So it's all in here.
What is it, do you think, that fascinates people about local history?
But people love the old days, don't they? You've only got to look at what's happening today with taking cars off the road, and then people go straight away to the bus station. Why on earth do we get rid of it? It served a purpose. Not only did it serve a purpose, but all the people from the outlying villages like Alderbury, Farley, all used to get on the bus, come to Salisbury bus station for the market days, and then they used to meet and talk and communicate in the market, and it was much more of a community thing, and people love that sort of thing. Even going back to all the shops, Salisbury had a newsagent on virtually every corner, the bakers, the butchers, all those things, and they're fond memories of Salisbury. And I think that people just love going back into, the name of the book is Bygone Salisbury, and people love those days.
And when you're researching, and I know obviously you do a lot of research, sort of going back into the depths of Salisbury's history, are there things that actually surprise you?
Well, the biggest surprise I've had recently, when I was in the pub and someone actually came marching up and said, I suppose we found out all we can about Salisbury. We haven't scratched the surface yet. You've only got to talk to people like John Abbott, who's another really good researcher. If I say, oh, John, I'm having trouble sort of doing some research on the shops of Fisherton Street, for instance, from a bygone from 1960s, he would come up with something that I didn't even realise, So there's all this sort of like local historians, you're continuously learning off each other. So I'll have to say that it's the research that I prefer to the writing. Research is my thing, really. And the other thing is, I think that I'm in awe, really, of a lot of these writers of Salisbury books who go into great detail, like in the Sarum Chronicles. You know, it's really academic stuff. My forte, I think, is sound bites. You know, I like to go straight in, put in a short number of words, what I found out research-wise, and then come out again. I'm not one for writing rambling stuff, although I have done that with the books that I've done, on Salisbury history. But even those, you know, like Hold Tight, which was the Salisbury music scene from 1945 to 69, written with Richard Nash, that was done as a series of interviews with people. You know, it wasn't just written, it was talking to people, getting their memories. That's what I do, I think. I like talking to people because when these people unfortunately pass on, all the memories go with them. And I think that it's worth preserving for future generations.
Do you think by people understanding what has happened or what has shaped Salisbury, does that help people to feel connected to it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm a great one, you know, to look for the future, you've got to look at the past. So I think, yeah, there's no doubt about it. You know, I do the Fisherton Informer magazine, and it's when you do the interviews with people about, you know, their memories of growing up in Salisbury, all the bygone shops, those sorts of things. People look back on it with a really warm, you know, memories, lots of warm memories. It's almost like people had more time for each other in those days. Today's society is very fast, you know, get things done sort of like today, and you know, whereas in those days I think people had more time for each other, and yeah, so that's what I love.
Okay, and where can people buy your book?
Okay, so I'm a great supporter and believer of the independent shops. So the Rocket Ship bookshop in Bridge Street will be stocking it, and the History Bookshop off Fisherton Street will be stocking it, and I'll be doing a series of book launches as well. And I expect, with my satchel over my shoulder, I will be taking it around pubs as well, because people who go to pubs, they love talking about local history, so that's a really good, you know, I can sit down at the table, have a pint of cider, and sort of like have a book and start talking about some of the things in here, like this one, like the Bustard, for instance. And straight away people will say, "Oh, I remember that from years ago. That closed years ago," but it jogs people's memories. I mentioned this book today, and to someone, and said, "Oh, it's got the snowstorm of 1963," and everybody really in the pub, they've all got memories for some reason of that great snowstorm in Salisbury, how it stopped all the buses going to Farley, all those things. They're distant memories, but you've only got to sort of like produce something like this, and it sets the ball rolling, and that's what I love about it. And these photographs are from, originally when I started writing, these photographs were the Salisbury Journal archives. They've since been digitised, and they're now I think they belong now to the museum in Salisbury. But I did get permission in 2016 when I spoke to Bill Brown, who was the then editor, about using the pictures. So I got the clearance from him when they were Salisbury Journal property. So I only got these from the printer yesterday.
Yes.
So at the moment they're in boxes in my kitchen.
Okay.
I'm the only person who can actually get to read one of these.
I feel quite privileged.
Yeah,
I feel quite privileged because having had a look through it looks amazing. But can you hold the book up?
Yeah, sure.
Just so that people can see the cover on there. So it's a fantastic photo.
Yeah.
They're sort of showing Salisbury.
And loads of, you know, so that's Buddy Holly and the Crickets when they played in Salisbury, March 1958. And then we've got a local band here from the 1950s, early 60s called the Coasters. So what I did was, if there was two articles that were similar, I tried to put them together on alternative pages. So if you're reading about Buddy Holly, you know, and you're into the 60s, you can turn to the next page and you've got another 60s story. So I've tried to do that, and I did it also with a garage called Anna Valley Motors that's long gone now, that lots of people in Salisbury still remember, fond memories, and that's where a lot of the Spitfires were built, secret Spitfires were built. And on the other page, so you got Norman Parker, who was the man who was the man associated with the secret Spitfires. There he is there, and there's the Anna Valley Motors there. and a nice little, I call them historical sound bites. So each write-up is no more than 300 words with a nice photograph, and it is really sound bites. It just tells you all you really need to know in a short space of time about Anna Valley Motors and what it became. So that's the way I prefer to do it, like that way.
Frogg Moody, thank you very much.